We're here following Wrexham's 3-2 home defeat to West Bromwich Albion in our second game of the 25-26 Championship season. Today we're going to be having a look at that game and we're going to be sort of judging what Wrexham can expect this season in the Championship, because we've played two games so far, Southampton away and West Brom at home. We've played 180 minutes of Championship football, and I think we can judge based off those two games alone what Wrexham could really be in for the upcoming season. I think we can gain a lot, of course, already from the 180 minutes of football. So we're going to be looking at the game today. We're going to be having a look at, what went right for Wrexham, what went wrong, and will those wrongs be able to be put right in future games, because it's a league where we know it. If you don't take your chances, you are going to get massively punished, and that's one of the talking points in today's video. So before we get going in today's video, if you're looking for the best Wrexham content, it's coming your way on the channel. Make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. We're on the road to 29,000 subscribers. Let's go for 350 likes on today's video, and I'll be looking at the comments, so let me know your thoughts so far on our Championship season, reviewing the games against Southampton and West Brom. So I think it's only right we go up the field, starting with our defence, and I thought at times we were very solid today against West Brom, but there are times, I think, take for example their third goal, which was quite appalling, and I'm not going to sit here and judge all the players, and I'm not going to judge it because we're 2 games into the season. A lot is going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and moan, but you're looking at the goal against Southampton, the ball over the top, the defending from Ryan Longman, and of course Jack Stevens coming in at the back post unmarked. I think it was James McLean's man. And then you're looking again today, we were very lucky. The opening passage of play that West Brom did, our wing backs were stretched so much, and the wingers for West Brom had so much time on the ball. And then you look at the play that followed after that, it was just a calamity at the back. It was stagnant. The players were just stood still there, and I don't think it was obviously the greatest view, and obviously that's completely different. Southampton players putting their bodies on the line, but today I think that is a slight call for concern, how open we were at times. And I think the centre backs have done a good job. I've been really impressed by Connor Cody so far. You can really see his experience, leading Max and Lewis Brunt on obviously throughout the games, but I do think at times the wing backs are caught out, and I think, like I said, it's very easy for West Brom today to play down the channels, have freedom on the ball, take on their man, put those crosses into the box. I think overall, you're looking at the defence going into this season, I do think we need another centre-back like Connor Cody, who is going to be Championship proven. Of course, Max has had a really good start to the season. Lewis Brunt played well at Southampton, but a shaky-ish game today. But again, they're going to obviously settle into this league against the high calibre of players, and obviously they need those games to obviously adapt to their game, their own game, and obviously to continue to develop as a player. But I do think we will go out and target possibly a player that's got experience in this league before, whether it be a slightly younger player or an older player. I think we've been linked with Callum Doyle from Manchester City, so again, a player that's got Premier League and Championship experience. He would be a great player through the door, but we'll have to wait and see on that front. But defensively overall, of course, we saw Kakachi obviously miss out today due to a slight, I think it was hamstring strain he was missing out for today. McLean came in, got the assist, but I do think Kakachi is going to be our starting left back this season. And you're looking as well at the other end of the pitch, the chances we had, like I said at the start of the video, it's the reality of the Championship. You can't expect to miss 2 or 3 golden opportunities and still expect to get something out of the game, and that is exactly what happened to us today. We got punished. We had some really good chances. You look at Connor Cody in the second half, you look at Max Cleworth, I think he had 2 obviously in the second half, one towards the start of the second half and one towards the end. And you look at that golden Nathan Broadhead opportunity. Kiefer Moore, of course, working well up front. He won the ball back near the corner flag, pulled it back to Broadhead, and to be honest, I know it's his first game, but you're looking at a player of his, goal scoring ability, you'd expect that to go on target. But again, it obviously just wasn't to be our day, of course, in front of goal. We missed plenty of golden opportunities, and like I said, this is what happens when you don't take your chances, and it doesn't take a lot for an opposition team to hit 2 or 3 goals. A prime example being today, West Brom had 5 shots on target, they scored 3 of those goals. Yes, the first goal, it was good, Danny Ward couldn't really have done much. Second goal, I think there's definitely going to be a sort of a debate for Phil Parkinson, and a big decision for him to make going into our next league game against Sheffield Wednesday. Who does he start in goal? Because we've seen him in the past, he is so ruthless with selection opportunities and selection choices all across the pitch, but specifically in goalkeeper. When Mark Howard obviously came in for a Okonkwo, had a couple of good games, that was it. Then Mark Howard played the next 8 or 9 games. Danny Ward has let that one in at his near post, which, as if anyone knows anything about goalkeepers, you shouldn't really be beaten at your near post, and I think it wasn't really a hard shot for Danny Ward to save. So I do think, if Arthur Okonkwo trains well, but obviously you look at Danny Ward and think, it's one mistake, is that enough to drop him? He did a couple of really good saves, and his performance performance at Southampton was really, really good. So I think that would be a bit of a knock to Danny Ward's confidence if, he's made that one mistake despite playing really well at Southampton to just completely get dropped. So that'll be an interesting, conversation that Parky has with his coaching staff. And I think it all sort of depends on how they train this week for that big upcoming game against Sheffield Wednesday, because we're winless in the first 2 games. We're playing an opposition that I think we can definitely beat. It's just a question as to whether who will start in that number 1 role. Would it be Arthur Okonkwo or would it be Danny Ward? I think I can imagine what all the fans at home watching this are saying. I think they'll all want Arthur Okonkwo back in, but you're looking at Danny Ward. He's made some really good saves against Southampton. I think that's what he needed because, he's a good goalkeeper and he's going to get a lot of stick on social media for letting that goal in at his near post, but he made some really good saves against Southampton. But it's a question as to whether some fans obviously stick with that performance against Southampton or focus on the present with that goal he conceded. I'll let you decide in the comments. I think as well, going forward, we showed some good-ish signs. I think there's obviously a lot of new players in that final third. Of course, we've got Libby Kakachi playing obviously against Southampton. We've got Kiefer Moore, Nathan Broadhead, Lewis O'Brien, all those attacking players. You look at Josh Windass as well. Okay, he didn't have a big impact today, obviously coming off injured, but there's so many players that are coming into this squad that have never played with each other, and they're coming into a squad and coming into a Wrexham team that has got some really tough opening fixtures. So look at, the stats from our first 2 games. Southampton, recently relegated from the Premier League, retained some really good quality players. The lineup they fielded is very, very strong. We put up a great fight. We should have got something out of the game. West Brom, they're always there or thereabouts in the Championship. We've created some good chances. It's just defensively we've been really unlucky. We've conceded 5 goals in 2 games, which again isn't really good enough. But you're looking at goals scored, 3 goals. We've made some good chances going forward. We just need to be ruthless, and I think time will tell with that. And I think as time goes on, obviously Nathan Broadhead, once he develops and sort of settles into that attacking third for us, he will be a really big threat. I think he's going to have a lot of chances, and I do think he's going to get a lot of goals to his name. Kiefer Moore, again in front of goal, could he be a bit more clinical? I think, like I said with Nathan Broadhead, as time goes on, he'll get those chances to put the ball in the back of the net, whether it be from a set piece along the floor. He's going to be in the box. He's going to be that fox in the box for us to score those goals, hopefully. I think that is sort of the story for the whole team for us. I think a lot of fans obviously are kicking a bit of a fuss about us not winning in the first 2 games, but you look at the calibre of opposition. They've got a manager, of course, who have both come in, they're both new, don't get me wrong, but will demand so much for them. They will have wanted the players to have made such a big early statement to the fans of both Southampton and West Brom. The quality of players, and the players have been in that squad for a long period of time. You're looking at the lineup from our first game of the season. Over half of the players in the lineup weren't at the club last season, so I don't know if we're expecting too much. Of course, we've spent a lot of money, but I genuinely think for the fans at home watching this, all I can see it taking is probably 4 or 5 games, probably even less, for this team to click, because the quality is there. You're not going to obviously sign all these quality players and they're not going to gel. They're going to gel as time goes on, and I think once they do gel, I think we're going to be a really good team, and it's just about whether we can be ruthless going forward like we were in the second half of last season, turn the switch, Phil Parkinson getting the best out of these players. And I think we'll be comfortably surviving this season. I know that's not the aim, but from the first 2 games, I think a lot of people at home watching this are thinking, are Wrexham really going to survive the Championship? Are Wrexham ready to take the step up to the Championship? But I think, like I said, as time goes on, we're going to be comfortably safe this season. My other slight concern is the midfield, and yes, of course, we've got injuries to Ollie Rathbone, George Thomason, who probably were 2 players that would be in contention to start. But you're looking at the midfield today, I think Matty James was going to be a starter even if Rathbone and Thomason weren't injured, and he's sort of my call for concern. I said it in my predicted lineup video. I said he's got the quality on the ball, but he might get caught out a couple of times, but that'll be okay because the players around him will do the running. I don't think that's going to be the case. I've eaten my words on that one. I don't think that is going to be the case, and I don't think Matty James has that in him, obviously, to be that constant runner in midfield. Yes, he's good on the ball, he did a couple of good tackles, broke up the play, but ultimately you need an engine in that midfield. We need the likes of Ollie Rathbone, a player like George Thomason, who's got that hunger inside them to just run and run and run, and they're good players on the ball. And Matty James, of course, don't get me wrong, he's an experienced head to have in the squad, but you're looking in the lineups, especially in the first 2 games, playing with a midfielder like George Dobson, who had a good performance, I think, today, but is very erratic going into the challenges, doesn't really think at times when he rushes in, and that's just left so so many open gaps in the midfield, and I think the difference between midfield and attack today was very, very present. I think at times it literally was defence and attack. The midfield were all spread out in the midfield. I don't think there was set positions for the likes of Lewis O'Brien and George Dobson. They were constantly switching over sides, and they weren't playing in that set sort of left centre mid, right centre mid. So I think that's something Phil Parkinson and Steve Parkin will look at after the game. They'll rewatch it, they'll think, who is going to be in that midfield for the next game, because it's a big decision to make. It's a big sort of midfield three that we have, and they're going to be a massive role going into this season, because midfield is arguably the most important position on the pitch, and we need quality in there. I do think we'll be okay though as time goes on. Obviously, of course, we've got Rathbone and Thompson coming back. Hamza Chowdhury of Leicester City is rumoured to be signing for us, so if we get a player of his quality in, obviously Championship and Premier League, it's just going to boost the ranks and competition even more in that central midfield role. But yeah, again, it's a new squad. There's a lot of players that are playing with each other for the first time. They need time to gel, but I think as time goes on, we'll be okay. Something else that I was slightly disappointed by was Josh Windass, of course. In my opinion, I'll say it, he's the player out of all the players we've signed that I've been most excited to see play, and I've been most impressed by in the first couple of games. Of course, hitting the bar against Southampton, scoring the penalty, being a nuisance up front. We saw him getting those nippy positions, of course, on the edge of the box in the opening stages of today, but he's come off with a hamstring injury. Phil Parkinson has said they don't know yet what the extent to the injury is, but he said it doesn't look good when a player does go down and comes off immediately, so we can only keep our fingers crossed for that. Of course, Sam Smith came on towards the final third. He scored the goal right at the end, but ultimately I do think we needed a bit more from our front line today, and something I'm not really going to moan on too much. I've going to promise this to myself that I wasn't going to moan in today's video, but something I am sort of going to touch on, and I don't think it will obviously have a damaging effect, because we're 2 games into the season. We've signed the likes of Broadhead, we've signed Lewis O'Brien, very good players technically on the ball, but if we're going to, play long balls to Kiefer Moore, who's going to get the flick-ons, for the players to run onto like that, I don't think it's going to work. We need to get the ball on the floor and get them obviously spreading the balls out to the channels, being that creative spark in the final third. And we saw glimpses of that from both players. Of course, Lewis O'Brien getting on the score sheet, but there were so many times where the ball would be pumped up to Kiefer Moore, he'd chest it down or flick it on, and there would be no one there. But again, that's something really small that I don't think is going to be a big issue as time goes on. But overall today, I think there were some slight calls for concern, but I think that'll be worked on in training by Phil Parkinson. And ultimately, we have faced the harsh reality of the EFL Championship. If you don't get your chances, you're not going to win the game of football. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of today's defeat against West Bromwich Albion? And let me know who you would start between the sticks for the next game against Sheffield Wednesday, Arthur Okonkwo or Danny Ward. Do all that good stuff, subscribe, click the like button, and I'll see you in another video. Take care guys, up the Reds.